A nice easy question for our speakers. Elly, you already kind of shared your favorite resources for learning. So a chance for Natalie and Maya. What were, your YouTube channels, blogs, books? What would you share with, say, the new people in the audience?
Okay, well, I'll jump in first because Elly mentioned the book Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. I haven't read that either. It's on my shelf at home, but his YouTube channel, Andreas Antonopoulos, is a fantastic speaker, really inspirational. And if you'd rather have a book, then get his Internet of Money, which is transcripts from various talks he's given around the world at different institutions. That was actually probably the start of my journey down the rabbit hole. I was researching an article about some complex bit of fintech, and I stumbled into one of his videos. And that was it, really. That's why I'm here a year later.
Natalie?
For me, I guess the blockchain revolution was probably the first one, but I didn't read it. I actually listened to it because I don't have time to read for the most part these days, unfortunately. And I'm a visual person too, so I like YouTube and I like those kind of illustrations and diagrams. I'm still searching for really good ones though. To be honest, I feel like it's challenging to find good ones. And I come from an educational background, and I feel like for myself, I haven't latched onto anything yet, to be honest. Where I'm religiously listening to or watching something. And unconventionally, I'm also one of those people who really likes to learn from others. So some of the most valuable information I've learned was from walking around and talking to people. So I go to a lot of events, I talk to a lot of people, I network a lot, and I have learned some of the most interesting and most exciting information just from conferences. Token Fest last year was amazing because you got to see some of the awesome, crypto celebrities. But listening to them talk really on stage, I think that's one of my favorite ways to learn.
Okay. Elly, do you have anything to add?
I think I've shared already. But the best way to learn a token or a technology, the best way I think still is reading the white paper, but it's pretty hard to understand, sometimes white paper. So you can combine, apart from reading white paper, you might want to also watch some YouTube channels. And then there are a lot of YouTubers, they provide tutorials you can understand easily.
Okay. So before I go on to general topic for the evening, is there any brave audience members with a question? All right, here we go. Lady there in the next one. Is it on? Take a hold of the, is it on? No. Yeah, there we go. Just hold the red button down at the bottom. Okay. Here you go first.
You introduce yourself and then Hello, my name is Ira. I'm a student at SOAS University of London. My question is for Elly. It is about cryptocurrencies because I feel like for a lot of people, cryptocurrencies still stand as a speculative asset or an investment asset. So people get into it for perhaps future passive appreciation. But what else can we do, or what do you think needs to be done still for it to transition from a speculative asset to an actual currency that can actually be used for more day-to-day transactions? What else is missing right now because it's still not being
I still think, because it's recording, well, to be honest, currently it is really for a speculation. But, I think a lot of people, they are working on it. For example, us Token, we are in the FCA sandbox. So we try to seek for regulation support, and I believe a lot of the other companies, they are doing the same thing. They're trying to talk to government, they talk to parliament, they talk to the financial, like treasurer company. They're trying to find a proper way to regulate it. And then, as I said, we still have a long way to go. So. Currently, unfortunately, a lot of people, they want to gain quick money, but I believe because we are putting effort on it and we're trying to make things right. So I believe it still takes time, but I believe one day, I don't know if it will be like day-to-day transaction. I'm not really sure about that, but I think as long as we are doing things right and trying to find a right way to regulate it, it will not be judged by the by the mainstream media. So let's say it's a scam or it's rubbish. Yeah.
I'll add to that, and I feel like for it to be mainstream, it has to be usable. It has to be valuable to the person as a good product. Why do people use products? It's because they're easy to use, they're fun to use, they bring them some sort of value. Until crypto is so user-friendly that my grandmother can use it, it's not going to be mainstream. So the challenge with it right now is everything that Natalie described. It's really awesome to get a crypto wallet and use it, but it's a pain in the butt to write down these passwords and codes, and I'm one of those people who I would refuse to use a paper wallet. What is the point of us creating a crypto online currency and then writing it on a piece of paper, storing it in your regular wallet, then digging around for the password? Don't share your password, but then write it down multiple times, lose it somewhere, So until it's to the point where it's so easy that you don't have to do all those things, it's not going to be mainstream. And so it's looking for those products that are developing it in a way that it is really usable. So I talked actually to somebody today earlier. They're developing a product with a card where you basically can transact with crypto, and it's got like a fingerprint, and you basically tap with fingerprint, and that's kind of how the goal is to transact like that. And this is the kind of product that we should be developing that's really, really easy for everybody to use.
Yeah. I think I would definitely agree with that and say that we actually have no idea. Just within a few years, it's going to look so different. And if you think back to that metaphor of the early internet, when people were looking at Usenet and thinking, well, that's never going to catch on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. But we could never have predicted what search would look like today, what social media, that my nan can see pictures of her grandchildren on Facebook just by clicking there. That's what we're going to have to work towards. But it's coming. Some of the brightest minds in the world are trying to solve these problems now and actually bring the technology into the mainstream. That's what we all need. I am confident it's on its way. Don't know what it'll look like though.
And I think regulation will follow once people adopt it, because just even now, GDPR is catching up to everything that's going on with the internet, but the internet did not get adopted because of regulations, right? So regulation will get there.
Yeah, no, we touched on it on our first WITechRev meetup. I said, I could explain blockchain to you in like 2 minutes, and you'd be like, so what? Like, what's that going to do? But if I'd explained the internet to you 20 years ago, you'd be like, yeah, kind of get it. Might be useful, no idea how that's going to change my life. Yeah, here we are 20 years later. It's going to be the same thing with this fourth industrial revolution where blockchain, crypto, AI, machine learning, it's going to change the way we live, work, and interact with each other. So I can't tell you how, but it's definitely happening. The lady in the grey jumper wanted to say something, and then question over here. Right over there.
I just wanted to comment on this easy transaction thing that we're talking about. Because funny enough, today I posted a post that I wanted to find a way for my mom to be able to transfer money to me from Canada. I'm also from Toronto, by the way. And I'm like, I just want an easy solution so that it's easy for me to be able to go from fiat to cryptos, to be able to send as much as possible what's it called? Inspire people to start using more cryptos, because the more you say, hey, do you have a wallet? The more incentivize people to open wallets and get through that. And I found that Revolut actually has Ethereum and Bitcoin options in there, even though you can't. They have restrictions on how you send it external of Revolut, but if other people have Revolut accounts, it's pretty easy. So just wanted to add to that there are, and there's Koinomi as well. Apparently it's quite easy to move things around. But yes, I think that the transition to finding easier ways, just like web design back in the days, you see all the coding, but now you can create websites without seeing all the code. Yeah. I think it's going to be the same kind of transition. We're not going to even see the back end of all of the numbers and the freaky stuff that our parents are kind of scared about. So yeah. Cool.
Yeah, Revolut is great actually, and it goes one way but not the other. This is the problem, right? So you have to put in fiat.
I'm sure they'll work on it, because I did message them today about it.
They are working on it.
I'm actually really interested in the progress of it. I really want this to be as seamless process.
There's a number of them.
I've messaged them as well. If I could, everyone just message.
Are we all stalking?
Just get on everyone.
our private keys revolution.
No, the thing is, they're
Keep the questions
yeah.
really short. We've got time for networking as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Over there. Go.
The thing is, they're trying to get a banking license.
I know. Yeah, this is the tough thing.
That my company is developing security tokens, and we're expecting to have a boom of the security tokens. My question is to all of you. And do you think that this is possibly gonna help to the regulation, and is it the future of the tokens being securities and tokenization of the assets of a company? Is this gonna help? What is your opinion about this? Anyone actually who feels more
Security tokens. Are they good, bad?
I'll have a quick crack at that then. I think it's a case of the regulation catching up to what's actually going on in token sales, and the more startups that actually say from the start we recognise that we are a security and we want to be fully compliant with that, then that's going to make ICO funding or ITO funding more accessible genuinely to countries that are presently excluded. So yes, I think it's a very worthwhile trend to see emerging.
Okay.
All right. Question, and then here too, and over there.
So I have a question especially for Elly. I was very interested in your experience because you made the transition from PR to the blockchain industry.
Yes.
I was actually faced with the same situation. I just graduated from Oxford MBA, and before that I was an entrepreneur in the traditional finance industry. But now I just joined the blockchain startup as a business development. But what really challenged me now is, on one hand, I have to keep intensive learning in this industry, but the timing is very important for me to bring down my skills to develop the company. So when you first enter the industry, how do you balance the learning process and also your bring down your skills to contribute to the company? And also how to deal with the mental frustration when, because I think when everyone joins a new company, you feel like it's my stage to bring out my skills. But for blockchain, you have so much to learn.
No.
Just want to hear your advice.
I think because of my personality reason, I have like about two sides. When I'm outside in the space, like I'm super active, and then when I go home, I don't really talk a lot. But I get you because I'm Chinese, and then I choose to live and work in London. You receive like a lot of like maybe cultural differences here, and I feel like a lot of people, they have stereotype on Asian women, like they are very quiet, they don't really talk. But the thing is, I think my personality is like this. Like I just like I said, I have to be comfortable with yourself. Like I can't tolerate people like, put pressure on me and doing things. And then so I think when you are facing something you feel like you're uncomfortable with, you have to stand up and fight for it. And then apart from that, when people really, they make judgment on you, if it's really because you lack of knowledge, you don't really know, you don't know what's happening, or you don't know what the product is, you don't have knowledge about this thing, you really need to spend time on learning. And then nobody can teach you in the industry, because if you don't really understand how does it work, you can secure your own assets. You cannot demonstrate your product to outside the people. So that's the part you have to put effort on it. You have to maybe sacrifice your leisure time and put on reading a lot of online materials, or watch a lot of YouTube channel. It's very boring, but you really yeah, it's very boring. You have to watch it like maybe 10 times, then you can get it. But yes, you have to sacrifice your leisure time and watch them. And then if you really face something you feel uncomfortable with, or you feel like unfair, you have to stand up and say it, speak it out. And then you should gain the respect from people. Not like people treat you like, they don't respect you. You shouldn't like just keep quiet. You should stand out and speak it. Yeah.
Right. Question over there. Nice one.
This is a question for 3 speakers. We all know that the first blockchain is decentralized. And that's why, as you said earlier, that you want your grandma to use cryptocurrency as easy as Facebook or as easy as Click. With what's going on today, there are centralized blockchain or centralized cryptocurrency. They are looking at making this as a possible cryptocurrency for regulation or making it easier or from complex to simple way of transactions. And a lot of resistance are happening with private or centralized cryptocurrency at the moment because they said it's not blockchain. What are your thoughts with this, like IOTA and Ripple are all coming on board and they're saying it's a better way to control it because it can be regulated or it can be a simpler way to do transactions with cryptocurrency rather than make it decentralized. So your thoughts on centralized cryptocurrency or blockchain?
And Natalie, you want to start with that one?
Sure. I mean, I'll give my thoughts, and I think there's a spectrum of decentralization, right? It's not like centralized or decentralized. There's a spectrum, and I think it fosters adoption, in my opinion. So we've seen it a lot in healthcare. Healthcare is a regulated space. It's not so much the same as with currencies, but in healthcare, there is a resistance to public, completely decentralized blockchains. And the same thing is happening basically in healthcare when you're using something slightly more centralized, slightly more controlled, and more privatized. It's a much easier road to adoption for things like doing feasibility studies, pilot work, just to show the community, to show institutions, to show the governments that it actually works. Because the reality is the technology is still quite new. It's still in its nascent stages. There's still only a few use cases, apart from the financial sector, but there's still only a few use cases where it's actually shown this is scalable, this works, this can be integrated. And so those more centralized blockchains and ledgers, call them whatever you want, are, in my opinion, a good way to have a more controlled environment for pilot work and showing feasibility.
Maya, do you have anything to add? Centralized, decentralized?
I think the whole idea of true decentralization, and when you really think through the implications, is incredibly threatening to such a wide range of institutions globally that it's not surprising that this pushback coming from the big companies is taking place in the form of permissioned blockchains. I think there are definitely use cases for them, but I think we need to question where that push is coming from and does it undermine the reasons that cryptocurrencies were initiated in the first place, that's all.
Anything to add, Elly?
Oh, no.
Okay, one more question. Ooh, two more questions.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you very much for a very interesting talk. I've never really had anything to do with blockchain before, and this is my first time of wading into the waters, so to speak. My question to you all is, looking around a lot of your millennials, how do you encourage much older people to wade into this pool? Thank you.
Good question.
I think I've got to jump in on that one because I'm not a millennial.
You look like it, so you refresh it.
Thank you for that wonderful compliment and for coming along tonight, new to this. That's really fantastic that you have done so. I'm a mother of millennials, so... Just remember dog years, because I've only been working in this industry for under a year. There is a tremendous amount of resource out there. There are books, there are videos, there are podcasts. You can educate yourself. Some of it's heavy going. There's an awful lot of noise and scams out there as well. But actually, if you get fascinated by it and just keep going down the rabbit hole, you will find that you can find your own route into it. And it's actually an incredibly diverse space as well. You'll find a project that really inspires you to read about it and go after it and learn about it.
I think it's true. I think it's whatever your passion is, because now in blockchain, it covers all different sectors and industries. So whatever your passion is, you can find it affiliated with blockchain now, I think. And so you can see some of the problems in whatever your sector is, look at the challenges that sector is having, the problems, And can blockchain fix it, and how can it fix it? And this is where it becomes interesting to people, right? But apart from that, I use like kind of my parents as examples because I try to get them into the space constantly. And it is finding those easy routes of using it, and also telling them like, hey, look what I can do. So it's one of those things where I can transfer money to you like this instantaneously across the world. Look how cool this is. And they're like, oh wow, you can like this, and it's like almost free. The fees are so minimal. Whereas alternatively, it takes days and it's really expensive to transfer money. And so it is, once those use cases become more and more popular as well, it'll be really easy to get people into the field because you can show them what it can do.
Cool. And I mean, for me, it's like, so I'm a techie coder, I used to code, and it's never about the technology, it's about the solution. And you know, me and Natalie always have this debate, like techie people are really bad at explaining things to people. But the thing is, if you can, like, there's no point in having these dApps, decentralized apps, if there's no need for it. So it's more solve a problem today, and it's that like, what is it, not Zuckerberg, Musk's wife, she called it idea sex. So like Uber is like, I want to be able to get a taxi here using the location-based services. It's like, just get the creativity going. What problems do you want to solve? And then maybe some technology can help you. It's never about the technology.
Very quick question. How do you think roles in the sector will change? So in terms of the roles that you're recruiting for now, what do you think will happen on those roles in the next 10, 15 years?
I think there will become more of them. The ones that we're recruiting now for developers and roles like that, there will be more of them. Basically, I mean, the whole world, the whole kind of ecosystem is heading towards this, you know, it's not just blockchain, it's blockchain, AI, IoT, being able to use more and more devices, being able to control those devices, work with those devices. Roles are going to change towards more developer roles, engineer roles, interacting with the technology. So it's really important for people who are going through schooling now to keep aware of that, because there are certain things that all those technologies together, certain roles will become not so much less important, but they'll be used in different ways. So for example, roles like physicians, roles like accountants, roles like lawyers, they're going to change significantly, and they'll be much more dependent on interaction with technology.
Yeah. There's actually a fact here. Most statistics are kind of made up on the spot, 87.5% of them. But there's this statistic saying about 50% of the jobs in about 10 years' time, they don't exist now. Be like drone pilot, robot polisher. There's going to be so many interesting jobs coming up. So it's more, you know, get yourself skilled up, tooled up, because there are going to be a lot of things like automation and robots are possibly going to take some of your jobs away, but not all of them. Don't be scared by technology. So do we have any more questions? One more, and then we're done. Go on.
I have two.
It's a bit technical about the project, about the genome, and I have some doubts, and like...
Can we talk later?
Yeah, we'll take that one offline.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, anyway,